Hello and welcome to another installation of TechTalk. Yes, it is St. Hayden's Day. We've got him back. It's nice to see you, gentlemen. Mike, what are we talking about? What are we going to drill holes into Hayden about today?
All right. So, Hayden, we're going to tackle the big question, the one that we've always posed, that we talk about with you, but we've always seen it as a big mountain to climb. So we're going to talk about generators today. So, maybe diesel versus petrol, sizes of generators, what sort of KVA you need, what is KVA, and therefore appropriate power outputs to suit appropriate things that you'd like to do. So with that very, very big general topic with a very general introduction, mate, take it away, bud. Nice to see you.
Thanks, guys. Good to be back on. Mike, you've hit the nail on the head with this. It is a big question that everybody asks everybody on this screen, and everybody asks their mate and their best buddy and everyone else. There's very few people that know the actual answer, and the answer is very fluid as well. It really depends, what gear you're running, what you're trying to achieve, what your space requirements are. There's so many factors when it comes to generators, and there's so many on the market now. It's just astounding, the different makes that are coming out everywhere, and the sizes that they're coming in now. That we've got everything from your old diesel clunkers out there, the old tractor motors barreling away at 900 RPM, and then you've got all the way down to all these little petrol ones now. So we've got so many people using different generators, and some people have great response with some and horrible with others, and it really comes down to what the guys are running and what they're trying to do with it.
I get the impression that in a lot of things in life we say less is more, but I get the impression that that's not an appropriate thing to say when it comes to generators.
Mate, as soon as you start talking diesels, isn't bigger is better, right?
Well, yeah, right.
Well, how about I put a measurable in here, what we should cover off on? I reckon we should go machine size 600 and up, and a three-phase vac. Okay.
What three-phase vac though?
A 5500 or a 55T. Let's pluck two common ones.
So different.
Well,
I'm not saying one versus the other. I'm saying one scenario and the other scenario.
Correct. So we're talking, let's pull a 680 out of a hat, just for random, because we all know what that is. So you've got a 680, wanting to run away, and you've got your 55 series vacuum. Let's go with that. Well, the two biggest differences right there, like just in that, you haven't even got to the generator yet. You've got two major differences on those two vacuums. You've got one that is on an inverter that's going to give you soft start. It's going to power up gently, things like that. So your power requirement for startup essentially is very minimal in comparison.
So sorry, when you say that, that's on the 55T you're talking
Correct.
about. Okay.
Correct.
Yep, just to clarify.
That's right. So when you've got a motor that's plugged directly into power and switched on, this thing's going to pull enormous amounts of current to start up, right? And that's a big generator killer. Back in the old days,
Is it raining a bit these days, man?
Yeah, that's right. It's going great. You can see we were running 680s and 5500s because that's what was around back then. So your generator, you had to have 45 kVA. Otherwise, as soon as you start up, generator would cut out, or your vacuum would drop the phase. Like, you'd be burning plugs left, right, and centre because it's just what they did, because they needed so much current to start. So there straight away is a huge difference between, you get a soft start, vacuum on a VSD, you can easily drop down quite a lot in the size of the generator.
Give us numbers, Hayden.
What's a VSD?
On startup versus a 55T on startup. What are we talking about? What's the difference?
We're talking amps.
A
5500 startup's probably going to try and pull in the vicinity of 35, 40 amps on startup, momentarily.
80.
Well, okay, for that fraction of a second, come on. But again, this leads into this topic this is a rabbit hole, guys. Like, we're on a downward spiral right here. This blows out to more than just your generator. It blows out to circuit breakers, RCDs. Like, so much comes into this, and it all affects the generator.
Temperature.
You don't find this on mains power. Like, it's such a big variance.
Let's try and make this a bit simple then, Hayden. Let's talk perfect world. You've got the perfect setup for each scenario. What is your perfect setup and why?
All right, so a 680 and a 5500, I would be recommending that you want to run at least a 40 kVA generator. Like, again, different models are going to be roughly different. You might have a 38, you might have a 43. That you're going to have a little bit of mix there. purely because you don't want to run a generator at 100% all the time. If you've got something that's pulling 30 amps and its limit is 32 amps, yeah, okay, you're still under the limit, but this thing's working hard all day long when you're pulling that amount of current. So you're doing a first cut all day long, you're going to ruin the motor, or the regulators, like different parts in this generator are going to fail. So I've always worked on a rule of around about 20% above. So you want what you're pulling to be 80% of the capacity of the generator. You got headroom, you got a bit of give. If you need to throw a hand grinder on there or something else that a second vacuum for whatever reason, you've just got that little bit of space to do it, that flexibility. And as we know, flexibility is a big thing in the industry. When guys are on the tool, you don't want to get stuck in a corner and go, well, I don't have any other power requirement, but I need this. You've got to be able to work that. So, when you're talking that, again, even if you drop back to a 55T or something with a variable speed drive on it for soft start, you still, you're not dropping from a 40 down to a 20. Like, don't get me wrong, you're not cutting it in half. You're probably going to drop back to like a 35 or something like that. We have guys with the little Machinex generators, a 32 kVA. They're running gear off it, no worries. But the question here is, no worries, is that they're pulling maximum amps on their grinder? Is their vacuum, are their socks, clogged up? Are they pulling maximum current on both units at all times? So, it's hard to put numbers on these things, guys. Like, it's with all the variance out there.
With saying that, let's say I don't have a 680, I don't have a 5500 or a 55T. All I know is that my grinder has 15 kilowatt motor and my vacuum is 7.5 kilowatt. Where do I start? What do I look at? Is there like a basic formula or anything I can use just to get me in the ballpark so I don't buy a generator that's underpowered? Obviously, you can go to extreme, get 120 kVA, but that's a bit overkill.
Well, we said to leave some headroom, didn't we? No, look, there are calculators out there, and look, wherever you're looking for these generators, they're going to help you out, but you just got to be wary that they may not keep that additional capacity in mind for what they're selling you. So you go to them and say, I've got a 15 kilowatt, a 7.5, and let's just say it's a big block, 15 kilowatt. You've also, remember, got a 1.5 kilowatt planetary motor behind that you've got to keep in consideration. Even though it's only small, if there's not enough headroom in that generator the company recommends you, you go from a HTC 15 kilowatt that's a single motor, and then you go to something else that's got an extra 1.5 kilowatt motor on it. Might not seem like much, but it could be that tipping point that does something. So, but certainly, yes, there are calculators out there. You can put in how many kilowatts the motors that you're driving are. Again, it'll give you an estimation, and they're always going to be on the low side because it is what the required power that is. That's not the comfortable power.
Hayden, I've got a couple of questions for you. Now, we've done the research, we've done the maths, and we've gone, okay, we've got this set up here, and I'm now shopping for a generator. You said before that you want to have a bit of headroom, right? Now, I found something that's pretty much really pretty close as far as my calculations is concerned. What's the difference between, say, a 40 kVA and a 60 kVA in cost, dollars?
Round figures, mate, round figures.
I've not had to buy one. Look, I would say, when you're talking a generator that size, you're probably on a trailer. So, you've got a portion of the cost that stays the same. Look, you're probably, 10 grand, maybe.
No, the difference is around about $2,000 to $4,000.
There you go.
I was just about to say, I looked that up yesterday.
It's about $2,000 to $4,000, right?
There you go.
Now, as we know, those calculations that we did on paper are best case scenario, and we've never had best case scenario on a job site yet in 25 years. When all of this stuff gets hot, temperature has a real big impact on electronics, right? And so things don't run anywhere near as efficient. We start to drop some of that efficiency. So the point I'm making is that you can go out and buy a generator and think it's perfectly matched until you actually start stressing the thing out. Gets on a hot job, gets on a overextension of lead.
As Hayden says, just clog your socks up a bit.
Clog your socks up.
Simple as that.
All of these extra contributors to load and current draw, and then the generator is really above its limits now. We're really getting into that 20%. We're using 95% of it, and it's hot. So things aren't as efficient. Back up the truck pre-purchase, an extra $2,000 to go to 60 kVA or $2,000 to $4,000 to go to 60 kVA over 40. The impact that that's going to have on your business when everything can run clean and you're not having to shut things down or back off speeds in order to support the generator,
Absolutely.
Um,
There is a trick there, Josh. You don't want to go too big either.
Yes, that was my next thing.
That's the other
Why?
one. You know? It's all good to see this 205 kVA Cummins generator on Facebook Marketplace.
But I got a 550 big block.
You know, it's cheap. It really is. You know, it'll easily power my machine. It's like any diesel. If it's not working to a certain amount, it can actually damage the engine as well. So again, you know, these things are finely matched for everything. So there is a limit to that. I don't actually know what that limit would be. Again, with all the variant of it going around, but I mean, I know that comfortably a 66 kVA can run, you know, 2820 setups comfortably.
So, for example, when Milan's asked before about, I know I've got a machine at X kVA, another machine at X kVA, another one, you want the maximum of those combined machines at that 80% mark. And then you've got the 20% extra wiggle room for when things do not run at optimum performance, or it's hot, or that's your wiggle room. That you want your maximum machines at the 80%.
Correct.
Would be a perfect world scenario, yeah.
Yeah, just give you that little bit of comfort for, you know, as Josh said, you know, hot days, things going on. You know, if a regulator starts to play up, it's not instantly going to affect you. You've still got that little bit of grace to, you know, finish that job and then take it in, get it looked at, you know, and things like that. So, and again, leads, as Josh touched on, you know, all of a sudden if you're trying to run 100 metres a lead off a generator, that can affect it heavily with all the voltage drop going out to a machine. So that 20% can make the difference between that working or not working for you.
Speaking of wiggle room, just one quick question. Do RC machines, because they obviously have motors to drive the wheels, do they require more power? Is that something we need to consider, or it's really just the
No, it's very minimal in comparison to what those three-phase motors are for. You know, we're only talking a matter of, you know, an amp or two maximum difference between the two machines. So it's not massive.
The other thing I wanted to say, it's so great. I finally get a word in with you guys because I know you got so excited about the subject. It's very popular. We get a lot of questions about it. So I thought I have one for you as well, Hayden. We have someone who just upgraded from a standard block to a big block, right? And they're looking to say, will this thing run on my generator? Is there much more power draw now? We've got, instead of 11 kilowatt, we've got 15 kilowatt. Is that going to make a big difference to my power draw?
Well, that's 4 kilowatts. You know, that's 25% of your week, isn't it? It's you know, that's a big difference in what you're going to do. Look, it will make a difference, but again, it all depends on how much wiggle room you have with the setup you have. And you know, if a guy, you know, has got a 30 kVA generator and they're just managing to get through on their 680 standard machine with a 55T that they can, you know, only run at half speed to keep the machine running, well then yes, that's going to have a big impact on them running that gear. But if you had a 45 kVA, not a problem, because you've got the wiggle room for that.
So I've got another question. So we have multiple companies that run double setups on one generator, right? So does that mean, because we now have like two 820s, two 680s, two RX6s or two RX8s in conjunction, like together, and with two.
So that's 8 machines on one generator. Is that what you just said?
I'm giving you.
200 kVA Facebook generator's looking real good now.
Okay, I'll make it easy. I'll make it simple. Let's forget brands. Let's talk about 600 and 800 machines, right? We've got 2 of each, doesn't matter which brand, on one generator with 2 3-phase vacuums. Does that mean I now need to go up to 90 kVA or 100 kVA to run a setup of 2? What is my minimum requirement?
Yeah, so when you start going up to that double amount, the calculations do change because you've got your prime and your standby, and that helps you when you're in the bigger generators. So like I said, we know that we can comfortably run 2 820s and 2 55Ts off a 66 kVA, which essentially would say 2 33s would run them. We know, yes, they can. Once you get up to that double, I don't know the actual name of what is in the calculation, but it does. You don't require as much when you're doubling the amps up there, because your smaller generator at 45 has already got some leeway, right? So you've got that same leeway up higher in the generator. It's a hard one without having a calculation in front of me and go, all right, here's the calculator, here's all the bits and pieces. But it is a sliding scale as you go up. Again, there are limits on that, so you wouldn't want to go too low because, again, you're going to fall below your critical power anyway. But yeah, certainly you don't always have to double when you double the machinery.
Okay. That's really good. One last question here as well. So we hear about, when we're talking about getting issues and we have different breakers. And I heard you say this many, many times, and I hear this industry talk always about a particular brand of breaker that is working much better than other brands. Can you enlighten us with that? Because I think that's really crucial.
Certainly can. Look, there's 2 or 3 things in this, and a few of them are related to generators only as such, and a few other things that are coming out in the market that also affect these breakers as well. So when you have a load breaker and you have an RCD, so they're two totally separate things. One is a residual current device, so it's earth leakage, things like that. The other one is, hey, I've shorted 2 wires together and I'm pulling over X amount of current and it's tripping out. Again, if you've got a 30 amp breaker, there's every chance on your generator that with a 5500 on there, you may trip that 30 amp breaker on startup straight away without even having another machine on. So a lot of the time when we are doing installs, we'll recommend a 40 amp breaker per outlet, just for that spike on there. Now, the other thing is all these breakers, they have different ratings. So, you have all your different curves. So C, D, M, Z, there's a whole pile of them out there. And they all determine how much inrush current they let through, like a spike at the start. So there's certain ones, C's and D's are generally what are used in there. And they just let a higher amount come through before it trips for a small amount of time. Right, so that's really important on a generator because your generator might dip down, then spike up again, because it's not mains power. It doesn't have this giant feed through the grid to back itself up. It's creating it on demand as you need it. So you'll hear a generator when you turn the machine on, the generator bogs down and then the motor comes up. So that's changing the amount of amps and everything that's been done.
There's actually a lag taking place there too, isn't there? Because you put the load on, which means that you demand power. The power's not there to begin with. So what happens in the gap is the current spikes as well. So you see,
remember, voltage and current do this. They live like this
until the revs get come up and support the required power and flatten out the current draw.
That's right. So breakers are really important.
Just when we're talking about all these different breakers and things like that, Hayden, to change something like that, are we talking $100, $500, $5,000? It's not that dear of a process to make sure you've got the right thing, is it?
It's not. Look, a general electrician can change them over on your generator or on your mains power, no problem. The breakers themselves are probably $150, $200 max.
Yeah.
So we're not talking huge dollars to set these things up the way you want them and should have them. So again, in line with that, you've then got your RCDs. Now, I'm sure we've probably done previous talks on this before on the RCDs, but there is a particular brand of RCD. It's a Hager brand. I'm sure we'll probably have the photo up shortly of which one it is for people to know. There it is. So it's even though all the specs will read off the same as another brand, I'm not going to use names, but other brands, the internals, the tolerances are different. And we just find that this particular model of Hager brand, RCD, we don't have issues with it. We use them here in the workshop. Whenever a machine comes in with earth faults and things like that, RCD's tripping, we can basically plug it in straight away and know, is there an actual problem in the machine or is it an RCD? 90% of faults are fixed by changing this RCD. Now, the flip side to that is it doesn't really affect generators at the moment, but I know in mains power, they're bringing in a lot of these things called RCBOs, right? So it's an RCD and a mains breaker in one, which is fantastic. It saves space on the electrical boards. There's all these great benefits to it, for general use. But for this particular industry, when that trips, a contractor now has no idea if they've got a dead short or if they've got an earth leak. So it's kind of problematic nowadays, and that's going to come more and more across the board in a lot of places. So it's going to be something that we'll have to tackle separately. But again, you'll find new generators will come out with RCBOs. So it's certainly, if you can have them when you set them up and you're buying them, ask for the 2 separate ones to be put in.
Nice.
What do I get a feeling we're going to get a lot of comments down below this tech talk.
Yeah.
Bit of always some feedback and some questions and stuff like that. It's such a broad topic. So if you've got any questions while you're watching this, or you'd like to make a comment or anything, look down below, guys. It'd be good to see.
I mean, 100%. Also, I think there's so many factors that go into it, and when it comes down to sales, anyone's going to sell you anything, right? Because they want to make a sale. So really important is to ask the question, What's that? What? Come on. No, because like the good thing is we are in a neutral position because we don't sell generators, but we hear the problems obviously from the guys. And quite often I hear also they're using the wrong gauge cable because it's doesn't, it's what are the issues with
stretch? The same, you don't get that stretch, no? I mean, if you stretch them too much, they go curly, I've heard. So
it's copper and elastic.
But no, Dan, you are right. The longer the lead length you're trying to go, the bigger the cable size you need to go, things like that. But usually your standard, 30-meter lead, in like a 6mm copper core is fine. Not solid. Prefer not solid. They're really heavy.
Cool.
No, good one, guys.
Nice.
Come on, be quiet.
And which one?
I thought generators were going to be simple. Tell me which KVA and done. But there's so much that goes in it now. My brain's just going overload. I think I need to power down and have a beer soon because the weekend's coming. Wow.
Well, I've got one last one though. Sorry, Liam. One last one.
Of course you do.
Because there's so many out there. Petrol, diesel, trailer mounted, internal mounted, trailer mounted, mobile generator.
Solar.
Which one, especially with the petrol prices today, which are the most efficient ones to run?
When you say petrol prices, diesel prices are high too, mate.
Well, no, he mentioned petrol, diesel is the same. Fuel prices, okay?
Yeah.
I think now it's cheaper just to have mains power connected.
As long as it's not your own.
Look, Daniel, it really, again, that all comes down to sizing of the generator. If you've got a little generator, it's going to work harder, regardless of petrol or diesel. It's going to work harder. Obviously, there's petrol, diesel consumption, like for like, are going to be different, of course. But yeah, certainly, you get something that's got a small petrol motor on it. It is absolutely going to rev its ring off to try and get power coming out. So again, it's what people are looking for. Small mobile generators are generally small petrols or really small diesels. Your bigger powerhouses are on a generator or put in the back of your truck, things like that. So yeah, there's no right or wrong answer to this. But I mean, if I was doing it, you'd definitely go something a larger diesel.
So if I'm one of those guys that have got a crappy breaker on my generator and it keeps breaking because I've got a 5500 and it charges, like it goes through the roof and it keeps breaking. So if I actually hold that breaker manually, will that start up?
As long as you're not the guy that duct tapes an 8mm socket head into it to hold it up. Look, they should trip anyway. So even if you hold it up, it will trip regardless. So, and we don't recommend putting your hands in these places when there's power, okay?
So what'd you say? Take the breaker out and then just get a really big, thick nail just to put the fridge across the nail. And again, guys, dead oil, we'll fix COVID. That's where...
Right, just wait until Tesla bring out the power bank for the generator. That's fine.
Yeah, that'd be good. Big topic, guys. Big one.
That was a cracker.
I've been dreading this one.
A lot of info. That was good.
Oh, no one asked me what KVA means. Oh, that's good. I'm glad no one asked that.
Oh, now you have to say what it means.
That's next week's Tech Talk.
Results alive.
What is it, Hayden?
Kicking billions' asses.
Kilovolt amperes. It's a measurement. You can convert from horsepower, kilowatts, amps can all be converted into it.
Awesome, guys. It's been an absolute pleasure to having you back, Hayden. We missed you. You've been so busy lately, so it's really nice to finally get you back on here. Yeah, keep up the good work, hey.
Yeah, I just want to just put a note out there. Don't put a nail in your generator. And I think we all know that all doesn't fix COVID. I was being very sarcastic, but I'm going to go. I know what fixes Mike on a Friday afternoon. That's what my mum mentioned before. I'm going to go and generate some beers out the fridge.
Have a good weekend, guys.
You too. Thanks.
See you guys.